Tennessee 5th District. Congressman Ogles, thanks for being with us today. All right. We got your audio. We got your audio up, Andy? We're not getting Andy's audio, guys. Oh, okay, we got him. All right. Congressman, thank you for being with us. I want to just start it, and I'm going to have to hold you over because we had a little issue getting you on for second segment.
That's right.
But let me just go to this right away. I just want to get your thoughts on this potential Trump indictment of New York by these communist thugs on basically a misdemeanor. I know this was circulating around when you guys were at your retreat in Orlando, but for you personally, Congressman Ogles, what do you make of this?
Well, to me, this is nothing more than a political witch hunt. I mean, this is clearly being timed to be right before kind of the presidential primary season to damage Trump's image. Look, whether you're for Trump or not for Trump doesn't matter. The fact that this is that the justice system is being weaponized against a candidate, against a former president of the United States is really appalling.
How do you think it'll play out?
Wow, I wish I had a crystal ball. I'd buy a lottery ticket too, right? But I don't know that there's much there. You would assume that if they had something, they would be chomping at the bit to perp walk Trump, to get him in cuffs or whatever they're going to try to do to humiliate him. But, I think this has the potential to backfire. I think it rallies his base. This primary season for Republicans is going to be incredibly competitive. It's going to be interesting for sure. We have a wide bench of candidates. They all have their pros and cons. But, again, I just think this is one of those things that they've gone too far. It's kind of like the liberals and the transgender issue. It's just a step too far. And I think, out of respect of the office, again, this is purely a witch hunt. This is purely political. Enough is enough. Let's get back to running the country. We've got an open border. We got 300,000 people coming across every month. And you want to talk about this misdemeanor charge against Trump? Come on. Let's get serious. Let's act like adults. Let's move forward and run the country.
Like, for instance, what's going on with this 3-day summit between Xi and Putin? Basically, the antithesis, the opposite, the inversion of President Richard Nixon's China card back in the late 60s. I think it was 69, 1970 when he went over there. How serious is this possible alliance? And of course, one of the issues, Congressman Ogles, is we don't know what secret deals were made there behind the scenes, right? We only know what came out publicly. How serious is this alliance?
Well, I think this is concerning. I think it's symptomatic, emblematic of the fact that we don't have the same respect on the world stage that we did just a couple of years ago. The fact that you have Russia and China, literally colluding together to undermine the United States, our sovereignty, our position as the sole superpower. And, it's largely reported their meeting, but you also have to understand there were other countries in attendance too. So again, what deals were cut? You got China making insurgents into Africa and South America for precious minerals that we need for EV technology, which is a whole separate conversation, right? But this is one of those things that there's a pin in history that's been made with this meeting, and we'll see what the outcome is going to be over the next 2, 3, 10 years.
Congressman, I'm up against a hard stop here. Can you just hang with us for another
Absolutely.
segment?
Look forward to it.
A lot
Yes, sir.
more to go over. We'll be right back. Fund our movement. They have put literally millions of dollars behind school board races all over Texas, changing ration. Ogles, Andy, got to get the basketball tournament yesterday. Be shocked how great they are. 972 Patriot. That's 972 Patriot. All right, we're back with Andy Ogles. Andy, got to get the basketball tournament yesterday. Sorry about Tennessee. I did pick them -5 over Florida Atlantic, but they just ran into a very hot team last night, and so they got kicked out of there. I thought they would win, but FAU has probably been the hottest team in the nation, and they were hitting their threes, and you guys are out. So sorry about that, Andy. No more balls in there.
It is what it is. I think most people's brackets got busted early on, so kind of is what it is. But you talked about Patriot Mobile. I actually just switched, just so from an honest customer, I don't get anything out of it. I've been pleased with my service. The transition was easy, so kudos to you guys for being a Patriot fan.
And I hope you put in promo code Godzilla and got free activation, because that's the key.
I'm sorry, I didn't. I'm sorry.
You paid an extra $35 for nothing. But you are at Patriot Mobile, so thank you for doing that, and thank you for that great testimony. They're great people. Glenn Story, their CEO, is fighting for us every day. All right, let's get to the Freedom Caucus. You guys put out what I thought was an extraordinary budget plan for the debt ceiling, which basically says, here's all the cuts we can make, and guess what? We don't have to raise the debt ceiling. Obama then mocked it. Where are we with that?
Well, it's a process.
Obama, Biden. I say Obama because he's basically calling the shots, but Biden mocked it. Where are we with that?
It's an ongoing process. I literally had a meeting yesterday afternoon with leadership to talk about suggestions for cuts. We're doing these smaller group meetings. We put our plan out there to start the conversation. We recognize that we may not get everything on that list, but you've got to start somewhere. And so there's a process that's ongoing. And look, we've got to stop the spend. If my roof's leaking, I don't want to slow the leaking. I want to stop the leaking. And right now we're hemorrhaging dollars. Our deficit's growing at a pace that's too rapid. We've got to stop spending money, not slow the pace of spending.
So one of the things that you put in there about the alternative to raising the debt ceiling was getting rid of wiping out the whole student debt thing, 10,000 each, which is billions of dollars. That's now in litigation. How does the Biden administration even have the legal authority to do that? Doesn't that have to go through appropriations in the House?
Well, it's supposed to go through appropriations in the House, and he shouldn't, nor does he have the legal authority. But that's the problem with this administration. They've run shot over the American people. They've ignored Congress. And again, so you get these bailout type programs that literally are not constitutional. And so, again, I worked my way through school. There's lots of Americans that have worked their way through school. What's our compensation? What do we get? And for those young students or older students, for that matter, that incur debt, I'm sorry, but you have an obligation. You have to pay it back. We can't afford to bail everyone out. We just can't. And we've got to get out of this entitlement mentality that's swept across this nation over the last decade. And we've got to get back to paying our bills and closing our border, for that matter.
Well, it's what is going on in there is such a disaster. You see it playing out every day right before your eyes. I'm gonna run a clip here, guys. Let's get to cut 4. Andy Ogles, here's your colleague, Representative Tiffany, who's on my show a lot, from Wisconsin. This is a classic about what the ATF is doing and how that relates back to Hunter Biden. Classic. I want to get your reaction, guys. Roll the tape. Cut 4.
Wilcox, if a person lies on Form 4473 and is a user of unlawful drugs, you can get between 5 to 10 years for that. Is that correct? Is that my understanding?
No, I believe Congress changed the sentence last Congress.
What is that sentence now?
Up to 15.
Up to 15 years. Why hasn't Hunter Biden been prosecuted for the crime that he committed?
I'm not aware of the facts of that case and can't comment on it.
Okay, who do we talk to see why this case is not being prosecuted? I mean, he said very clearly in his book that he used drugs. He had at least a gun.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman.
Steve, point of order.
Totally irrelevant and not germane to this proceeding.
Sir, he's got his 5 minutes. Go ahead, continue.
Not a court of law.
Okay, so I understand why you do not want Mr. Wilcox to answer that question. It's very clear why you don't want, because there's a dual system of justice in America. That's what's going on right now, and everybody's talking about it across America. There's 2 standards of justice that are going on.
Congressman, your reaction to that. By the way, Tom Tiffany, great guy from Wisconsin. But what is your reaction to this?
Oh, Tom's a friend. He's a great patriot, great congressman, and he's right. And I just love his approach. It's a very calm approach. You see, just kind of laying out the facts, and then boom, he hammers the question home. But it's one of those things that there is a dual justice system in this country. There are things that the Bidens or the Clintons or whomever have gotten away with that you and I would be put in prison for. Trump's being targeted for a case that otherwise wouldn't even be, the headlines on Drudge. If you were to go look at them right now, probably the top 10 headlines involve Trump in this silly case at a time when we're going to an election season. Why? Because it's an election season. It's not about justice. It's about prosecuting the enemies of the state. And this has got to stop in America. And again, I keep bringing up the border, but when you don't have a justice system that's applied evenly, when you don't have law and order, when you don't have secure borders, people lose faith in the system. And this is clearly on this administration. It's on the Obama administration. Like you said, the Biden administration is simply Obama 2.0.
Well, the whole thing with the border, but you're right. The bigger issue, and this is why I've been saying this for some time, this potential indictment here of President Trump really isn't about Trump. It's about every single one of us, because they can turn this justice system unevenly on anybody they don't like and just go after their political enemies. I mean, tomorrow they can turn it on Andy Ogles for something.
That's right.
I mean, that's really what we're dealing with here. Why I think this thing is such a travesty. All right, I got about 2 more minutes. I'm a Titans fan. You also are from Nashville, so I love my Titans. But we got a new stadium coming, or what? I mean, the council's grappling with it, or taxpayers going to fund it? $1.2 billion. I love Amy Adams, our Strzok, our owner. But what's the deal with the stadium?
To be determined. My guess is ultimately there will be a deal cut, but I don't have the details, so I don't want to get above my skis on that. But, the Titans have certainly been vying for a new stadium, and I think there's an appetite from some to make it happen. And we'll see what happens as we go forward. Obviously, I'm up here in D.C. working on all these federal issues for our country. And again, like the most of America, frustrated with this Trump circus that's taking place and run out in front of us by this road prosecutor in New York. And again, we've got a country to run. We've got a deficit that's out of control. We have fentanyl sweeping the nation. We have China on the move, making moves to become more friendly with Russia, making moves in China, or rather in Africa and South America. And meanwhile, what does this administration want to talk about? Trump.
If he's indicted, do you think he should continue to run for president?
You're innocent until proven guilty. And so, quite frankly, like I said earlier, I think if he's indicted, I think it can backfire. I think it rallies his base. It solidifies his base. And, and maybe that's what the Democrats want. Maybe they're trying to set it up where they run against Trump because they think they can beat him. But to be determined, we'll see. I think this whole indictment thing in New York is a bit of a sham. So we'll just see where it goes from here.
Listen, every single internal poll number for President Trump right now has shot up like a rocket. When I saw the internals the other day, I almost fell off my chair. He was ahead in every battleground state. I'm talking about over Biden. Forget the DeSantis thing. Ron's done. He was ahead of Biden. He was ahead of Biden in Arizona by 10. He was beating him in Pennsylvania, Wisconsin. I mean, state after state. So I think this is going to backfire on the Dems. But the real thing they want is to get a conviction to keep him off the ballot, because if they don't, he's president. Andy Ogles, I want to thank you for being with us. You can go ahead, Andy. Go ahead.
I don't think Biden will be the nominee. We'll see, but I think the Democrats are ready to put somebody else out there, and so it'll be Trump or whomever versus an unknown candidate.
Yep.